everyone else an opportunity to wide the broadcast. This is a tackle and the tackle begins now. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Haya, tusaidie tuombe Madam CK.
Asante sana. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we want to thank you this morning for your kindness. Thank you for your grace that is renewed each morning, even your mercies that you've promised to renew for all of us on a daily basis. We are grateful for bringing us this far, and we want to ask you, Father, to inhabit this place, dear Lord, and that whatever we'll share with your people, Lord, will find a rich place in their hearts where it can grow and produce fruits that would last their lifetime, oh God, so that they can live meaningful and a purposeful life for the glory and honor of your name, and that also their joy would be complete in you. Thank you for hearing us, because we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen and amen. Asante sana Madam CK. It's good to see you. It's another Monday. Leo Kapteni Collins Wanderi yuko na sisi, lakini next week atajiunga na sisi atuambie mahali alikuwa ameenda ni vipi. Amechukua break, tumempea break kidogo. Basi akirudi tujue kazi ni vipi. As usual, the Common Sense edition is proudly brought to you by www.rexroofing.com. Na leta na Rexy Roofing, watu ambao wanauza quality roofing shingles, na pia kuna stone coated tiles, water harvesting gutters, na pia unaweza kupata waterproofing materials. Nyumba yako kama unataka kujenga flat roof ama unajenga nyumba inatoka ikae shwari kwa miaka mingi, unaifanyia waterproofing. They do waterproofing for you. Waterproofing services. They also sell quality shingles, roofing shingles. Nyumba yako ikae maridadi kabisa. And stone coated tiles, all from Rexy Roofing. Rexy Roofing, roofing your world. You can visit them at www.rexyroofing.co.ke, www.rexyroofing.co.ke, ama wapigie simu kwa nambari ya simu ambayo utaweza kuiona kwenye screen, ama pia utafute kwenye Facebook ya Rexy Roofing Limited. Rexy Roofing Limited. Sorry, website is www.rexyroofing.com.co.ke, www.rexyroofing.com. Kimbia pale Rexy Roofing upate stone coated tiles, upate UPVC roof gutters ambao unaweza kuharvest maji, alafu pia upate stone coated tiles. Nyumba yako ipate kuwa safi na maridadi zaidi. When you roof with shingles, they give you a guarantee of 50 years warranty that you get from Rexy Roofing when you buy their roofing products. Rexy Roofing is roofing your world. Asante sana. Naona Mungu alichokontensa. Good morning team Tackle, tuned in from Covent United Kingdom. Good to be part of this morning show. Good to see you. Perry Rob, good morning. Good morning to you. Farid Faraji, good morning team. Good morning my brother. Waviki, good morning sir, tuned in from Nyaururu. Dennis Kibiegon, good morning. Don Maverick, a very, very good morning to all team Tacklers. Blessed week ahead. Ngong is watching. Asante sana tuangon. Good to see you. Jackson James Ingoe, blessed day. Gerald Bitok watching from Wayben Sergoit. Amos Mayo, good morning. Amos Biwot, Amon Biwot, good morning. GB watching you live from Eldoret. Asada Johnson Nikinyua, good morning. 20 from Banana Kawainda. Asante sana tu Banana. Evans Araf Serone, good morning. GB from Nakuru. Asante sana, good to see you my brother. Olesyoba Chirchir Vincent Lamu County tuko tuned in. Geoffrey Bet, good morning, tuned in. Asante sana Kipkorir Ban, good morning. Gerald Bitok, good morning. Mheshimiwa Maingi Kawa boy, good morning to you too. Good morning. Cycling Masai, good to see you my brother. Sama Rock well represented. Gotea Captain Wade. Asante sana. This guy sent me a gift. Gift meivaa leo imeandikwa nini? Ukiandika huku ndani imeandikwa Bitok, ukigeuza huku ni Gerald from Cycling Masai all the way from Narok. Asante sana. That's a tackler all the way from Narok Masai. It's good to see you. I really appreciate. Amon be what? Asante sana. Good morning. Anasema good morning Captain and KIHIKA. Asante sana. Mpenda waru. Mpenda watu, mpenda waru. Asante. Good morning to you. Yeah. Okay. King Kaino Jr. Anasema good morning from Makutano. Asante Susanna Nyakiru. Good morning GB from Rome. Watu wa Rome, Italy. It's good to see you. Now we're going to have a conversation again. It's almost like we're wrapping up the conversation that we've been having the whole of this month about families. And you want to summarize the conversation that we've been having during this week. And also, by the way, you can have your counseling clinic with Madam Charity KIHIKA. You can contact her on her inbox. Ama unaweza nitumia inbox kama unahitaji counseling. I've seen that a lot of guys are saying, oh, you want counseling, sijui ndoa inafanya inatupiga chenga. Kazi kubwa sasa hivi ni kitu inaitwa ndoa. And she's been married for 35 good years. Older than most of you on this timeline. Anyway, we're going to have a conversation on marriage. And if you want any counseling, marriage counseling, or do you want to any conversation on counseling, you can contact Mrs. Charity KIHIKA on our Facebook page. Or you can send me a message. I'll send her your number. Then she'll call you and you guys can have a conversation. If you want any counseling services, you can talk to her very soon. She'll also announce to you guys when she'll be having clinics, counseling clinics, ili muweze kusaidika na kuhudumiwa zaidi, courtesy of the Tackle and Madam Mrs. Charity KIHIKA. Was been married for 35 years. Aya. Hapa tuangalia mambo ya can families return to what was taught as harmonious as families, that is mambo ya kitambo ambayo tatuambia inaweza kuwaje kisasa. Can men retire to productive and happy life? What are the roles of the community to at least fixing the marriage institution, the role of government, the role of church? Is all a conversation about family. Aya, Mrs. Charity KIHIKA, uwanja ni wako.
Asante sana.
Bari ya asubuhi, bari ya weekend.
Mzuri kabisa. We had a good weekend.
Okay.
Actually, we spent the whole weekend from Saturday and Sunday at home. Again, building the same institution we are talking about. That friendship, living together, in spite of the differences, because we are not identical twins. Even identical twins do have challenges. They disagree, but I think they agree to agree because they have to live together as twins. So for us, as a couple, we have to live together with an understanding, with wisdom, and of course with grace, forgiveness, which I think is one of the most important ingredients that is lacking in many relationships, and particularly in marriages where people feel very, very entitled, and so they end up pushing their marriage into the peripheries when they bring in very many other things. Yeah.
So how have you managed to get? You said 35 years.
Yes.
Have you managed to get married for 35 years? Even 5 years these days is a struggle. Inaishanga kama elections ya Kenya. After every 5 years.
Kama political parties za
Kenya. Kama chama ya Kenya. Kisha mmeenda mnafanya coalition mahali pengine ama unahama.
Yeah. That is what I would call unfaithfulness, even in those chamas. And in marriages, let me answer you about myself and my husband, who also every time he listens to this program, I must say marriages are lifelong commitment. From the very beginning that you decide and you feel you really want a partner, you need to make up your mind that you are entering into something that you need to work a lot, to do a lot of hard work, to invest in. It's actually like a business that you're looking for profit. And the profit of a successful marriage is the ability to be able to live together, even to outgrow the storms of life that come, because they do come. So for us, actually, it was the fact that right from the beginning, I usually tell my niece, because she's very, very dear to me, and many of my nieces and my cousins who look up to me, my sisters, friends, sisters in the church, and they think we have made it. What I like telling them is that right from the very beginning, I was looking for a husband, and I was still very young, 20 years.
You got married at 20 years.
I wanted a husband. That was something, it's a need that was inside of me. And because it was a need that was inside of me, I was deliberate, and I desired to have a husband. So I desired to get married. Therefore, I had to put a few points that I was looking for in a man that I could want to live with, or a man that I would have wanted to live with. So for that, I was very careful. Not that my carefulness helped me get the right person. My carefulness actually helped me, not the other individual. It helped me to count the cost before even building this foundation. So one of the things that I decided early in that period that I desired to get a husband is that I would not want to get married. And that was for me. I wouldn't want to get married and then I divorce.
Okay.
So my head, everything, every part of my life
was programmed for the long
haul. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Okay.
Because, of course, I lived in a community that had broken marriages. I had watched my parents. They never divorced, but they had challenges on top of challenges, but they still lived together. So I think I talked to myself. Then I didn't know that I did, but today I can tell you I did talk to myself, and I made some promises to me. That once...
To yourself?
Yes. I made a promise to myself that if God gives me the right man to marry me, I will want to work very hard towards this marriage so that it can make me happy and I can be able to live in it and keep my vows.
Okay.
Those are the days where we used to make vows that people don't like these days. And the vows, you are also told that the vows are almost like an oath, and they are unbreakable. So I entered into marriage knowing that the vows I have made are unbreakable. So I didn't want to break them. I knew they would cost me something if I broke them. And so once I got married, I knew that.
Okay.
And I think that could be one of the main things I can say that helped me be able to work out whatever differences, whatever challenges that came in life. And they were there. They are still there to date. Problems do arise, but very different ones, because every stage of a growth of a relationship is just like a child. When a child is 2 years, they have these needs. Within that period of 2 years, they also have relevant tasks that they must perform that are within their age group. The marriage is like that. Marriages actually have also stages. The very first stage is the honeymoon stage. So when you are in that honeymoon stage, that is the time for you to invest heavily in it, and to be compassionate to your partner, to be able to be gracious enough, to be stretched, to be stretched and to be willing to stretch the other individual, and to be open to one another. So
let me ask you, Mrs. KIHIKA, do you think you and your husband are the same?
Goodness gracious.
Do you think you are the same
Let
in the
me
way
say
you
this.
think?
The same in what sense?
As in, do you have the same orientation? Like they usually say, maybe people who have the same temperaments who are munafanana in a way, in the way you think, and you understand what I'm trying to do. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to get that. We are totally different.
Okay. So the argument of only same people should get married, how does these things work?
In fact, opposite attract. It's just like a magnet. Opposite will attract. Like a month ago, my husband said, "Now I see what you say." Goodness, we are so different.
Okay.
We are different in everything. Number one, I am a very, very, very chatty person. My husband is quiet.
Okay.
He's a serious person. Even when you see him, he is a very, very serious person. So many people will misunderstand him to be, particularly in our very, very earlier years of marriage, people thought he was angry.
He was getting married a hungry man.
Yes. When I laughed, I spoke, I talked, and he was there quiet, very serious. They looked at him, they're like, "Hey, I think I have to go." Some of my young friends, we were all very young, including him. So they would be like, because he didn't have much to say, they felt maybe they were intruding into our privacy. But he was good. He was just, that was his character. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't laugh too much. He will laugh when it is necessary. And sometimes he'll say, what are people laughing for? I don't see it. I don't see, in fact, he will say, I don't see anything funny in this. But everybody is laughing. Yeah, he's a serious person. We are very, 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 very different. In terms also of academic background, he was way ahead of me. And that also was seen by some people like it was not a good thing, but that you went to the university and you have married a girl who was is just a Form 4 person. So we were totally different in very many areas of our lives. But I like to ask him what attracted him to me, and he told me a story of how he saw me in a place of work where he was a student at the University of Nairobi, and so I went there to do volunteer work also as a young person, and so we did the work that we were supposed to do. Okay. We were sent by the Kenya Scout movement, where I'm a life member, and so the next time he came, he didn't find me. He said, where is the girl who was here? We still have some more work in the library and all that. So I was called again For him, he was calling me because he wondered where did I go now. He was coming. He was a student. He
Alikuwa na
also used to
agenda.
work. Alikuwa na agenda.
We need to encourage these young ladies who are saying they're no husbands to go for volunteer work.
Exactly. They need to go. By the way, on a very serious note, Gerald, people need to be able to give themselves. When people are saying there are no husbands to marry, there are no good wives, there are very many good wives today. They are very beautiful girls, beautiful not only their outer beauty, but they have a lot of inner beauty. They are very strong women. They also want to have strong husbands who are also very responsible. And so you can find them in various places. So it's true, people can go for volunteer. And when you go there also with an intention, okay, for me, I didn't go to this particular work with an intention to get a husband. But it was within the period that I was telling myself, I need to get, I'm looking for a husband. Because I had had some boyfriends here and they were not good enough to marry. So I was looking for somebody who was good enough to marry. So anyway,
You're not getting shortlisted. How can I get shortlisted?
Nilijaribu kushortlist nikaona no.
Ngumu.
Hawa sio watu wazuri.
Ukaona acha widen the net.
Yes, exactly. Widen the net. And anyway, to bring us up to here, we when we met, there was nothing. At least for me, I never even saw him. So he had seen me, but me, I had not seen him. Because there were many young men in that organization. Some were university students like him, were coming, others were employed. So I never saw him as then. It's later actually that he called, when I was called and I was told I was called. When I went there, I found he's the one who was calling. The person who had called me was him. He's the one who had some tasks to be done. So me, I did the job. And from there, I think, can we pass by and maybe take tea, coffee, or whatever? I said yes. So we went. Just for a colleague, I went. We took coffee, and of course, now I can say the rest is history. But
Indeed.
we were still very different. When I would go on those coffee dates, and we would talk, or we would share, I would be the one saying so much. He would just be nodding, okay.
Be quiet.
Oh, okay. Oh, that is nice. And me, I'm just talking. Yeah.
So you think your difference is part of the things that have held you together?
In fact, our differences are the ones that have our different characteristics or character, and our temperaments are the ones that have helped to keep us together. Because I am also easy and light.
Okay.
Although I'm firm, I am very, very, very firm and very principled. I am easy to forgive.
Okay.
And I am easy also to... Okay, unfortunately, I remember a lot. That is something that is a big problem for him.
You forgive, but you don't forget.
I forgive, but I don't forget. I could talk it on a light note, which is also sometimes is not good, because it's like rubbing. But once I am healed myself, I'll talk about it like it's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make fun out of it, which is not good for him, so I try. I also have to work out so that at least we can be able to be harmonious, the word that you like a lot.
To have harmony.
Yes.
So your difference has brought harmony. Sometimes differences bring harmony.
They do.
Okay. So if people who think the same way, have some temperaments, look at life the same way, if they get married, what is your prediction? What could happen in between you?
I think
or it's difficult for people to be attracted together.
It would be very difficult if you think the same. Okay. Actually, what would you be bringing into that marriage? If you are the same, you'll not be bringing anything into the relationship.
There's nothing new.
Nothing, because you do things the same way. Nobody is there to challenge the other. No one is there to push the other. No one is there to lift the other. No one is there to step in case, you see, for me, for different people, actually, if you are different, your differences will help you to, there's a time I can step in the shoes of my husband and do something for his sake and for him. He too can do the same because he knows me. For example, I wouldn't be able to have like a disagreement with my mother-in-law. I wouldn't choose that. So I would leave him to do that himself because he has the strength. This is the mother. And we also know very well that if he talks to the mother, the mother will not take it personally. But if I do, even if I was hurt by her, she will take it personally. Oh, huyu bibi ya huyu mtoto
Oh, kijana.
ya huyu kijana. So actually we have understood, and he keeps on saying it is the husband who is supposed to defend his wife to the in-laws. So in our case, when me actually I wouldn't, because of my upbringing, I wouldn't have a confrontation with my mother-in-law, and I would not even entertain. Even if there was a difference, I would rather leave it. He is the one who will be quick to step in because of his character. Again, he understands his mother better. He is the one who would step in and say and talk for us. So our relationship also would be good between me and his mother. Yeah, because I will not be rude to her, or even if I don't like, or in the future, in the earlier years of marriages, when people are trying to understand each other, the in-laws and all that. So he stepped in very well. So my life became very easy. I have never had a problem with them because he stepped in. So if he was like me, to also keep quiet, you see, would have had problems.
Ingewa kizungumkuti. Haya. Sasa siri ni gani uibia watu ndio tusonge sasa kwa kazi ya siku? What is secret to
ningesema tu secret of a happy marriage is self-awareness. Individual knowledge. We need to know ourselves very well, what makes us tick, what we can let go, what is toxic, so that we can avoid it, or actually we can work on it. In fact, the word is not to avoid, but better is to work on the things that we find are toxic. So secret actually is self-awareness, ability to know the things that I like, an ability to work towards the things that I like, and ability to, to understand the environment. And that is the environment of the relationship that I am in. That is actually the secret, because people have problems. Even the best of the best marriage will have a challenge. So if I know myself very well, I talk to myself, like I said the other time, you have to have self-dialogues with yourself as an individual. Unajiita mkutano, bwana yako anajiita mkutano, na nyinyi wote wawili, you get out of that safety zone and accept that you are weak, you can fight like the people who fight, but you have chosen and decided we cannot fight. Yes, because we can talk. Or I can still keep quiet and I talk to myself, and I can be able to resolve that issue without necessarily having to, to have altercations, the things that we hear which are really, really breaking a lot of marriages. Okay.
Now that you brought it up, so let's move to, self-awareness. What is being self-aware, and what difference does it make in your life, in your marriage and all that? I mean, what's self-awareness? When you talk about self-awareness, how do you define it?
That is very good. In fact, self-awareness comes from emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, one of the major aspects of self-awareness, emotional intelligence. When you are emotionally intelligent, you are able to appreciate the environment you are in. You understand how this environment works, and therefore you can be able to tell when things are not working, because you are in touch with the realities. You are not in denial. You are not in denial. What I can say is that when a person is self-aware about themselves, this will enhance the overall quality of their relationship. That ability to appreciate that other people have a right. They have rights. That ability to understand and to appreciate that you are not an island of your own is very good in terms of building relationships. We are talking of relationships in marriage and everywhere else, even at a place of work. People who have a very high self-awareness of themselves, these people can be able to tell when the organization is toxic. And if it's toxic, it's not necessary for them to leave or to brand, but they can be able to work well and also bring, be able to heal the environment so that people can be able to work together. Because what brings toxicity in places of work or in marriages is that failure to understand that human beings have feelings, they feel, they think, and they also act. So when you can appreciate other people's actions, if they are bad, you be able to help them or help yourself particularly, because you are so much aware of yourself, then you can be able to cope with people, separate and have boundaries. In fact, the key word there would be you will be able to have boundaries to know if it is about work, we can focus on work and we can do our work well. If it's about your husband and his ways of doing things, and it's not actually very good, it's not enhancing the relationship, then with this self-awareness, a high self-awareness, which we are saying is that you are emotionally intelligent, you can be able to work even within an environment that is not necessarily so good according to what you would like. You'll be able to succeed in whatever relationship you are in.
Okay.
So self-awareness actually is an ability to understand the environment that you're in, the feelings, the emotions of the people around you, even the weather around you, and live right within that environment.
Okay. All right. So how does this help in marriage? Self-awareness. Being self-aware. How does it help in marriage? And what is the danger of not being self-aware in marriage?
Good question. You see, marriages, what people are looking for in a relationship, in a marriage, is the ability to be compatible. People want to be compatible. Again, being compatible does not mean that you are the same characteristics, you think the same, you like the same things. No. Self-awareness in marriage brings that issue of being compatible.
Okay.
And when you think about compatibility, you want to know, can we work together, even with the differences that we have, or even with the different personalities that we have. And so understanding of your spouse or your husband, in fact, let me talk about your husband or your wife, that ability to understand that this person is different will bring in two things that are very important. They will bring in compassion, so that whenever he sins or he does things you don't like, you are gracious, you are kind. Another attitude that it will bring in is the attitude of thanksgiving, being grateful that you have somebody, being grateful that you are in a relationship. So this relationship will grow, and this self-awareness will bring those two elements: the ability to be compassionate with your spouse, and also to be grateful, to not assume him or actually take him for granted.
Okay. All right. Now, these marriages. Now, you're talking about, this time we were discussing about marriages, lack of harmony, becoming so elusive. I mean, is it possible then to return this? Is it possible to take back marriages to where they were supposed to be, where there's harmony, where there's communion, and where people think and, work towards the same things, as much as they say, agree to disagree or disagree to agree? I mean, whatever that means. But can we take back our families to that level, and marriages? Can we take them back to a point of harmony? And what's the roadmap?
We can. And that's why I said two elements that are very good in when somebody is self-aware, or their self-awareness is very high, is at a high level. They understand, because I need to understand myself. What makes me tick? What makes me upset? What makes me happy? How do I transcend my businesses within my marriage? And the question you have asked, can we be able to return to that? Yes, we can. Because again, these are things that are intentional. People have to be very purposeful in life.
Okay.
And when you are purposeful, like I said, you already know what you got involved into. Marriage is not something, and I hear this in very many marriages on the wedding day, that you are entering into this union with an understanding. Are you entering into this union with an understanding that it is you are making a vow to one another to live together in sickness? Self-awareness helps you to understand in sickness, in health, in wealth, in poverty. So your self-awareness, the ability to be honest and to be true, that there will be sickness, there will be lack of money, there will be pain, the other person will be hurting, therefore he will hurt you. The other person will need things that are not good for you, and therefore he will do them, and it will bring disharmony in the family. That ability to understand that is what we are calling self-awareness. And now where there is compassion and gratitude that we are equal partners in this relationship, it will bring harmony. So how do we go back to that? Is simply by developing self-awareness, wanting to know who we are, where we are at. What is this that we got involved into? What was it about in the first place? Was marriage just for companionship alone and never even for progress? I'll give an example. I said when we got married with my husband, he was already a graduate himself. I was just a Form 4 person. Now, there was that. It may not have been intentional at that particular time, but as we had developed love and friendship for each other, compassion came in. Need to care for one another came in. Need to lift each other came in. We brought our strengths together. We also brought in our weaknesses together. But we actually focused mainly on the strengths. Very early in our marriage, my husband learned that I'm skilled with anything that I do with my hand. And I decided I was going to study, to learn how to make clothes.
Wow, interesting.
Dressmaking. So, and I went. I was working. So partly I would go for this NGO part-time, and I would go also for training. I learned how to make dresses. I learned how to make curtains. I learned, I am a homemaker. He learned early in life that I also like to cook good food. My mother did do a lot of things. But one thing my mother did, what I
said easiest man to a man's stomach. The man's art is through the stomach.
In fact, that's what he used to say. So whatever I cooked was very purposeful. In fact, I must say here, I cooked with an intention to make the food sweet and enjoyable. Yes, I didn't just cook.
Wow.
And to date,
you're not just cooking a person without direction.
I planned. I organized. This was me. And I'm not saying if you don't cook like me, you are not a good wife or you cannot make a good wife. You can make. My point here is we bring in our strengths and we also bring in our weaknesses. So then we be deliberate to look at each other's strengths and weaknesses. Then we emphasize on their strengths. Because when you emphasize on the strength, you kill the weaknesses. How do you kill those weaknesses for a marriage to thrive? You lift the other person. If your wife is lower than you,
you lift her.
You lift her. If you are married to a man who is lower than you, you lift him. Because you have come together and you have loved each other in spite of the differences and the different giftings that both of you have. So in our case, that is what happened. So I went and I did dressmaking course and I enjoyed making dresses for people. I really, because you see, again, I'm a people person. And I said, I thrive where people are. I am not a person who will stay without people. I go intentionally looking for people. So for me to make my clothes was very easy because I had many friends. My high school friends, my college, I had done marketing and sales. I had trained as a salesperson. So the people that I knew in the trainings that I had done, the few of them, they are the ones actually that I was selling my dresses to. They are the ones that I was making curtains for their homes. So one thing led to another. And even later on in life, I went to the university. He encouraged me. I remember in ministry in church, we were called, and with him, me and him, we were told to join the ministry of counseling. I had never heard that word before, and I thank God for that. Because when I was called to be a counselor, I was like, what will I be saying? The only counselor I had heard was these counselors in the...
Kanjoras. In the muta.
I had never heard of a counselor again, but I knew Jesus was the mighty counselor and the
so
comforter.
you thought Jesus was a mighty kanjora?
He was enough.
Okay.
I never knew that people needed counsel from each other. And when we were called, we were told we'll be trained. And we were trained on how to visit the sick people, how to talk with people that are troubled, how to lead people to Christ. So that was a time that my life again got completely revolutionized. It was changed totally Because with these trainings by the pastors, by the medical doctors in the church, because we'd go visiting people in the hospitals, with that awareness and opening of a new, I would call it a new part of my life, and a new me, then I got to see other strengths. My husband got to see other strengths. He had been fortunate again, being an academician. He had gone ahead. He had gotten a scholarship. We went to UK. He did, his master's degree. And so when we came back, we were very involved in the church. So as a result, when this awareness came to us, again, he took advantage of it. And he kept on telling me, you're a very good counselor. If you could train as a counselor, you can do very well. So that is what made me what I am. So what am I saying actually with all these things? I'm not really here to talk about, really to brag. I'm saying this in humility, that in a marriage relationship, self-awareness, ability to see the strength in the other person, ability to understand what we came, into this relationship for. If we can answer that question, what was this we got we got ourselves into? If we can understand we got ourselves to build each other in this relationship, we will outgrow some of the problems that people find very difficult in a marriage. And so we will grow in the good things, and we become stronger in building the relationship. We will see things that can spice the relationship, and we will tell each other. If I find us something that is not working very well for my husband, I would tell him, I think this one, maybe you can say it this way. He's a public person, but he says, I like to organize myself. I don't like to be told, wake up and talk. I like to plan. So I say it is true. When you sit down as a professional and you put your notes together and you speak, you really encourage or teach, or you train very, very, very well, because he has points. But you see, that is something, like in psychology, we have what we call the 4 windows. We have the blind part, the quadrant. We have the part that is open. Only everybody can see about me. We have that which is very blind, only God knows about us. We have another one that I know about me, and I can only tell you about me. Then there's another one that you also know. There are 4 of them, and so you can tell me. So we sharpen each other, and we be intentional and purposeful, because we do understand that we came into this relationship for keeps, and we made vows.
So that's very important. First of all, when you're getting into it, know that you're getting into it for the long term. Like for good, whatever it is, you're in for good.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's a proper foundation. That's the
That
best
is
foundation.
proper foundation. And I think it's not only in marriage, even in business. When you get into it, you need to see the future so that you can lay a good foundation. Now that we are talking about marriage, actually, let me see. That, what now I have said, is what will build these things that we are doing for each other are the ones that has helped us to build a deep foundation, like a structure. Marriage also is a structure, and it has many branches. So you need to make a very big, what do we call it? The foundation must be very firm.
Be very strong.
Must be very strong. You have to have a strong steel bars and columns that are going to hold the upper part of the structure. That is now the other things that will come in: problems, children, in-laws, outlaws, friends, failures of business, even issues of health, lack of money, because you can be broke.
Okay.
You can also fall into temptation. Will your wife leave you?
Majaribu. Sasa kwa majaribu kama hayo nini inafanyika? Tunasameana. Puncture isisimamisha gari ama siku hizi anasema kama gari iko na puncture wacha tumalize gari yote.
Exactly.
How do you deal with this?
Imagine you have a puncture, una destroy the whole car. You take it to the mechanic.
You fix the puncture.
They will fix with 200 shillings only. And here you are.
Buying another car is very expensive.
You go buy another car. You start from the beginning.
From scratch. Then you come and realize now, kumbe ile ilikuwa na puncture nyuma hii iko na mbele.
A car is a car.
Ama yote iko na puncture.
It will always have a puncture every now and then, particularly when it rains. So if you marry another person, because now the other one was not good enough, even this is a human being, you'll marry maybe you keep on marrying every now and then, and at the end of the day, you might find yourself in the statistics of we have been talking about retiring without or with 3 wives.
Bila hesabu.
And I said here, all the 3 wives will
Or
not
3
want
husbands.
to see you, or 3 husbands. Mainly it is 3 wives. Not many people have. I will call it
Siku hizi ni
fortunate.
wanoma. CK. Siku hizi ni hatari
Watu
sana.
wakiwa very fortunate who are 3 husbands. Women are still not able to have 3 husbands. But maybe
No,
2.
at a time. At a time.
Oh, at
Get
a
married,
time.
yeah, unamaliza unaenda unaanza ingine, na unaenda unaanza project ingine. So unapata Thika Road hujamaliza, Mombasa Road, Manga Expressway imekwama, ndio uko Waiyaki Way, unajenga barabara ya kwenda Limuru.
Oh yeah, that can happen. Yeah, and at the end of it, or you decide none of them is good. I don't know. I think that is a very painful experience because you will have hurt a lot. Yeah, and it will also leave you with mental sicknesses because there's issues of now of rejection.
Okay.
You will have been rejected, or you will have rejected yourself, the first partner, either man or wife. Then you get into another one, hoping that it will work. And let me say this about that. My experience now as a married person, I have not seen many second and third marriages succeed.
Okay.
They have their own unique problems. And some of those unique problems, and which are very difficult, is when there is a problem in the family. There is a being shoveled from one place to another. Nobody is willing to take responsibility, including the children of the first marriage, the second marriage, and the third marriage. You find that even the children get involved in this. So they became the family becomes very enmeshed, and the person who is struggling now is left on himself or herself, for that matter. So I haven't seen very successful. They could be there, of course, because you could have been married to a very rogue, for lack of a better word, individual, maybe a man or a woman, and then because you're somebody who was ready to settle in a marriage, you got another one, so you're able to work out the differences that arise in marriages or the problems that come with marriages, because life in this world is difficult. It's not a straightforward thing. So there are issues that come and they affect marriages. Yeah. So if you are able to work them out on your second marriage, you can be able to make it. But I don't know. They could be there, I don't know. Now I can't think of any, but I'm sure out of this I would be able to think about some that actually have been successful. Yeah.
Okay. Haya. Sasa amoni iko ama hakuna? Tuendelee kuitafuta ama tuseme tu amoni ilipotea?
Ni lazima tuendelee. Let me say marriage is like the stomach.
Okay.
You can never wish away your stomach. You have breakfast.
Yeah.
You struggle to get food for lunch. And you work very hard, deliberately. When you lose a business and you know you have to pay to buy food for yourself,
you wake up.
You wake up.
Start hustling, yeah.
You work very hard so that you can be ensured that at least you'll have a meal the same evening and every day as long as you're living.
Okay.
If we looked at marriages like they were that important, because I have also noticed people are starting to think that marriages are not important.
It's one of those things.
That is a lie from hell. Before the government, God founded marriages, unions. And it is from those unions that we have the government, and everything else came in after marriage, where God in the beginning created both man and woman and actually gave them responsibilities to procreate and to build, to take dominion. Marriage is a very, very important and integral part of us, the society. And the moment people start trashing marriages the way they are doing it now, they are actually calling for problems. I am stopping short to say they are actually calling short a curse from God, because it is clear marriages are authored and made by God. And for weak poor people in behavior, and for people who are poor and weak, and who can actually be strong again in God, because He is the one who has the wisdom, the knowledge to help us circumvent the issues of life.
Okay.
So a marriage cannot be wished away. And sincerely, anybody who wishes marriage as something that does not work and has a disrespect for it is actually calling for problems for themselves. I'm not saying that if people are not compatible, have to live together.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. You can separate, but do not trash. If it is not working for you, it is wrong.
Say it's not working for me.
People to say that it does not work.
Ati ndoa ni mbaya.
Because if it doesn't work for you at ndoa ni mbaya, it works for others.
Okay.
And actually, it has worked for most of us and for many people, including where you have come from. You asked earlier on, kama sasa kuna shida, and maybe baba kona shida, and all that. Does it mean that uvumilie? Kuna vitu zingine unavumilia hata kazini. Na kazi hujazaliwa huko. Hata sio ndoa. Hata hauna vows
Hata sio kwako.
Ni just a contract, and you can also be sacked.
Yeah.
You know? So if you can vumilia that.
Kwa nini usivumilie ndoa?
Kwa nini usivumilie ndoa yako na iko na watoto? Iko na vows zako, iko na bwana yako mwenyewe wewe ulijicha. You chose this man.
Kuna mtu alikuletea.
In fact,
wewe ndio ulileta.
Wewe ndio ulileta mwenyewe. This man or this woman. Why are you going to get other women when you have already gotten this one and you have made a commitment? You are actually attracting a curse from God. You are actually lying to this woman. You are not a person of integrity. So you are actually destroying the very foundation that you build with your own hands. So you're now becoming a failure. And the fact that you're becoming a failure does not mean marriages have failed. It's only yours that you have failed. Others are working. You just need to look out for them, because
so kila mtu abebe mzigo yake.
Kila mtu abebe mzigo yake.
Kama imekuwa mzito kwako, sema ni mzito kwangu. Yangu ni mzito. Usiseme mzigo yote ni mzito.
That is what I find very, very difficult. And I have heard even, we talk of feminist movement. I say also I like the rights of women, and I cannot let myself to be dejected into to be abused. I wouldn't accept that. I would work very hard to ensure that I am not going through physical abuse. I'm not going through emotional abuse. I will work and ensure that I don't go through those. But if they are there and maybe there is something that I cannot be able to work out, then of course there is a better way. I don't have to now tell other people, if mine cannot work, yours cannot work. It's not right. Okay. I think we should take each case on its own merit.
All right. So, higher. We've been talking about men and how they are retiring. And now I think we need to give some hope.
Yes.
I don't know if there's hope, but you'll tell us if there's hope. But is it possible to have men retiring into a productive, and happy life? Like, you're retiring, but you're happy and productive. Is that possible? Is it possible for men to retire that way? Apart from how we are seeing them retiring now, is it possible for them to retire happy and productive? And how do we get there? How do men get there?
Thank you, Gerald. First, I will say yes, it is possible. In fact, it's very possible to restart all over again. For men who are retiring and they are finding life very difficult. And they will start by... They can start rather by owning up that they are having a problem. You see, until you understand that you have a problem, you are not able to solve it. So awareness, again, is very, very important. That I am not doing well.
Okay.
And once you know that, within your own abilities, however small, because people say people who are retired, they don't have money. And it is true. You may not have all the money you would have wanted to save while you are working. So use what you have. Start from where you are and use what you have. A good example is that many people retire and they go back to the village in those villages, that's a very new environment for them. They need to be aware that there is a change that has happened. They need to embrace that change. Acknowledge that now, this is my home. Own up to that fact. Fortunately, most of them, they have a home they had built. However it looked like. And start from there. How do they start? There are organizations within those communities for men. I have had very many places where they have what they are calling like a welfare or merry-go-rounds for men and women. Kuna chama cha wazee, where they meet and they discuss on development. They can start on thinking on the developments within their communities, using the resources they have. And again, fortunately, most of those people we are saying they are retiring, some of them are educated people. It's only that they were not able to invest in the city, maybe where they can be earning an income. But they have invested in their pension. Now, they have skills, like some of them are teachers. Imagine a teacher is a very, very, very important person in our community. If you are 60, for example, you retired at 60, and you have been teaching all your life, you may think that you are tired. So speak to your mind. Take 1 or 2 hours to teach in a neighborhood school. Even not only to teach the teachers, the students, but go and talk to the teachers. If you did very well and the schools you taught performed very well, go and add value there. So you have purpose for living. These people will be very excited because you are lifting them. The teachers you find in some of those schools are 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. Maybe you find a few of 55, but the majority are young teachers. So they will actually grow. And as you're growing them with your wisdom and the long experience that God has given you, you are helping them also to develop. That is where now they can also develop better, become better teachers. Issues of discipline within the society and the community. We are having a lot of problem in our country with alcoholism. If you lived and you are not an alcoholic yourself, because it's not every retiree will become an alcoholic or is an alcoholic, you can actually gather those people. You may not get money in return for the work that you are doing, but I sincerely do know for a fact that you will get a fulfillment that is even better than the money that you can receive. And you can have purpose for living. And every morning you will wake up knowing, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then you can have what WANDERI is telling us. You can start all over again to have that cumulative legacy all over again. So you are not useless. Actually, you are very useful. Again, I'll talk about stages of human growth and development. The task of that retired person is what we call generativity versus stagnation. You must know that you have accumulated a lot of wealth of many things. Experience, maybe experience as a mature person, the mistakes that you made in life, you're aware of them, and you can be able to counsel other people. So you give back to the society. You can gather the young people, both boys and girls, even the professionals in your community, within your field. You can teach them and you can actually impact them. I know men generally are not very bubbly, but if they are the ones who are doing politics and they are the majority and they make too much noise, a lot of noise, even a very quiet retiree can borrow. In fact, you can borrow from other people. You can even come here and share your experiences. And so many people are listening to us today. And I do believe many people's lives will be helped. So for these men and women also, fortunately for women, they do the things I'm saying here. By the time you are retiring, you are in 2-3 chamas. You already have your friends also in church. They engage because we are more sociable than men. But even men can borrow. And I have seen men who have retired and they borrowed and they did these things. They went to the communities. They became chairman of the cattle dip when they existed. They became chairman of the coffee factory within their village. They became church leaders. They became also teachers of Sunday school. And because we don't have many Sunday school teachers, we had a few men. And those men lived to be even 90 years. They were very, very fulfilled. And by the way, you can also make a new family.
Okay.
These activities and responsibilities, the giving back, you become part of very many families.
Yeah.
Even where we are saying that your children will desert you, there is no way you will go into a church, teach children Sunday school, or go to a factory, teach them how to organize their books. Their books. Even family people in the village who are farmers, small-scale farmers. You can tell them, I see you people work very hard. Can I be doing accounting for you? Ukipata pesa yako, get a small book, write what you have saved today, how much money you have spent on the fertilizer, how much money you have spent on the laborers that you have paid, people who have worked for you. You can organize your life and you can see, are you making profit? You can be the person to teach them all the values, the things that you have. You can be a very, very, very valuable. So you can start all over again. And sincerely speaking, you don't have to die miserable.
Okay.
The thing is, what the Lord told us in the Bible, occupy until Christ comes, or occupy until you die. Never allow yourself as a man to be idle, because idleness actually breeds anger, frustration, and this anger, frustration, they will draw sicknesses, high blood pressure, stress, depression. You find even older men are committing suicide. Or the worst now, you find that the money you have is so little, you think you are not valuable in the community, you are not exposing yourself to the people, you are not building relationships there. You go to alcoholism, you start taking alcohol, you become an addict, you are old, your kidney starts failing, and then you get whatever disease that come with all that, then you die prematurely, or you die a death that actually you have actually attracted to yourself.
You could have avoided. So let me ask you. That's what I'm asking you. There's something that happens is when men retire from work. What is work? When you talk about work, you find men retiring and they're like, nimetoka kazi, and there's nothing they do. They just they go to the village and they wait to die. How do we define work? When someone says, nimeretire, kuna kitu ya kufanya. And this is happening quite most from civil servants, or people who have worked for the rest, for the better part of their lives outside, working for government or an organization. They've been consistently in unemployment. And then people retire. They retire so, they retire in a way that they feel like that's all they had to do. A life where they come to the village and they imagine that the only work that they're supposed to do was where they're employed to do. How do you retire honorably and still be productive?
In fact, that's exactly what I was explaining. One, there's a difference between work and job.
Okay.
These people are retiring from the jobs they have been employed
to do.
But work is available for all of us. They need to differentiate.
Yeah.
They can use the skills they had.
There's a lot of work and less jobs.
In fact, work is...
It's in abundance.
There is work to be done.
Okay.
It's in abundance.
But there are
what
fewer
we do
jobs.
Not have are jobs to be employed, because also of the way employment is made. You work for a certain age and then you retire. Of course, also you give opportunity to the others who are being born after you. You can't cling on something forever.
Yeah.
So when there is, in the absence of job, there is a lot of work.
Okay.
So it's the ability to shift your mind. You are still able to work. The only thing you're not able to do is to be employed. But you can also be employed, by the way. Yeah. I have known people who have been employed on contract basis. Okay. And these are people who are super good. They retire at 60. They are called for another 2 years. They are given a contract because the employer feels that these people are very important and they are still very productive. At 60, 61, you are still very, very productive. The universities people retire at 70, 71. So, again, we go back to what we said. Have a mind shift. You have left, you have retired, but you still there's still a lot of work for you to do. Yeah. And that is where now I was saying, engage your mind productively.
Okay.
You can even go back to school, not necessarily for employment, but for the purposes of
Learning
building
something.
the community.
Building your capacity. Okay.
Yeah, building your capacity, adding value to yourself. You can become a consultant in your area of, or in your area of strength. You can still go back and, like I talked about these people, if you're an accountant and you have retired after 60 years, when you go back to the community, if you didn't manage to invest in the city, and we all do not have to invest. Now we have the counties. We need to go back to our counties and take that wealth of knowledge to the community, back to the county, and build the county. So you can go and you can apply the same skills, in your community. You can go and teach people how to be good financial managers of their resources. There are many people who have big businesses, but it is not planned. You can help them structure, maybe come up with boards, the way your organization was.
Yeah.
You had a board, you had a chair, you had board members, you have different maybe people within those boards that added and made the company that you worked for. If you worked for DT Dobi or if you worked for breweries, in fact, let me talk about Kenya breweries. If you worked there for so many years, or Safaricom, these are successful organizations. Whatever you did there in your capacity, you can go and replicate it in your county.
So you can retire usefully.
You will be a very, very, because again, you don't want to stagnate. Because at that age there is generativity, so you can be generous or you can stagnate.
Okay.
It's actually a choice again that you need to make, and this is brought by self-awareness, appreciating that at this particular time of your life, you are not employable, but you still are able to work. So work.
Okay.
Use your hands, use your mind, the skills that you have, use them, apply them where you have gone to.
Okay. And there's something I've seen people struggling with, even not even old people alone, but even young people.
Yeah.
I'm seeing they're struggling with with separating their expertise and their purpose. You could have been trained to do one thing, but your purpose is different. I mean, there's a purpose. We all born, even before education came in, people were still working. People were doing things. People, they were farmers. They were people. They were inventors. There were people who were doing things. The person probably who invented this bulb today never went to a school. Before all this education came in, there were purpose. There's something that people were shaped to do, were born to do. And you find that for the longest time, people struggled with their purpose, finding themselves, finding what they're really meant to do. And they struggle with it because they peg what they're supposed to do against their papers. Like, I graduated with BCom, now that's the only thing I can do. Until I get something to do alongside BCom, I'll not be doing anything. There's something that people struggle with it. And even when it comes to an end, where what you've been trained to do ends, you struggle with finding your purpose in life, like translating to who you are, like being yourself. How do you become yourself before you become your paper? So that, because now that's transient. It's you can be that until you die, but you cannot be. There's limitation to what you can be to what you're trained. Because unaenda pale unafika mpaka mahali, maybe what you're trained to do is not available. People struggle with this so much, CK. How do you ensure that you find your purpose before you even find your paper?
Let me say, the system of education also has brought a lot of misconception. People think that you're only important if I am very, very educated. I can only fulfill my purposes in life through the trainings that we go through in schools. However, that is a misconception. The truth of the matter is, you need to understand that was just it was just a means to help you to get a head start. Okay. But it was not meant to define who you are and what you can do. Because education helps you to broaden your mind. Unfortunately, many people's mind are narrow instead of expanding. And that's why you find people stick. They tell you, I have tarmacked for 5 years. I have not gotten a job. And that is actually not the truth. It's because they are suffering from what we call fixation. Many people are fixated. And this system of education that we have, in fact, which was heavily, actually, all of it borrowed from the West, we need to rethink it again. And I think we are doing that in Kenya, where we are saying we need to train people on market relevant skills so that people do not leave school entirely to go and wait to be employed. They are leaving school to go and create.
Okay.
We are lacking creators. I think people also with time have become lazy. And this I would also say is because when children were taken to school, let me talk about the last maybe 30, 40 years. These children that we have taken to school, we have given them everything. So they lacked an ability to create. Many years back, boys used to make balls with their own hands. And they would even make motorcycles. They would build things. They would build even things to bring water from the well. Young men. Today, we are waiting for things from China. The Chinese, on the other hand, they are making those things. Every Chinese home is a factory of making one thing or another. That is what we need to tell our people today. That you are very valuable, and it is not the papers that make you. It is the person that you are, the opening of your mind, the exposure that you have received in school that you need to use so that you can equip yourself and be able to work all the time without necessarily having to be employed. Yeah. Let me say about employment in Kenya. Do you know the largest employer in Kenya are SMEs? Many people are in informal employment where they are making their own things and they are selling. Yeah.
So you don't have to retire desperate. You don't have to live your life desperate, chasing a mirage, hoping that someday what you're looking for will come for you. Now, there's a question here from Hilary Limo for you. And it's saying, Charity, what do you say about the statement that before marriage, opposite attract, but after marriage, opposite attack? If you like a talkative person, you will hate it after marriage and vice versa. How true is that? This is from Hilary.
Thank you, Hilary. I think it's a perception. If you're attracted because of your differences, then of course they need to keep you more closer. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you are not sure that you wanted to marry a talkative woman or wife, then you married you now you want a quiet one. I think there is a misunderstanding there. If it is a decision that you made, it should even it ought to make your relationship better. Okay. However, also there is caution. We influence each other. Okay. And self-awareness is what will help us. Our emotional intelligence is what will help us to know also for me when to talk and when not to talk. Because the fact that I talk doesn't mean I will obstruct my husband. Because I'm the one who talks, he can't say anything. There's a balance of everything. So we grow into understanding each other. Okay. And loving each other for whom.
All right. So for you, that difference has not been an issue. You've not gotten to a point where you feel, bwana ananyamaza sana. Ni nini aniambi? Hujaifika hapo.
Ndiye alifika hapo. Akasema huyu
mama anaongea sana.
Too much. Which was so good for me because I also learned that the fact that you are so quiet or you are very talkative, you don't have to talk all the time. I trained myself. You see, learning is a continuous process. We keep on learning every day. I learned that because I can talk and he is quiet does not mean he cannot talk. It's only that he talks when he feels it's necessary and he has something to say. So I had to keep quiet. I taught myself how to be listening fast because it's a skill also that lacks a lot in many of us who talk a lot. We fail to listen. And listening is very hard even for the most quiet person. So I learned to listen, and I'm forever grateful that he picked that and told me, you don't even have to talk all the time. Like in a Bible study, I would dominate. So I learned that. It was a humbling thing.
Can be aware that you can actually talk less.
Yeah, in fact, I said the fact that you talk, you don't have to talk all the time. You can also give other people a chance. And that was a long time. And it has lived.
So you've never gotten to a point where you get bothered by the fact that he's a quiet person? Because talkative people want to see a reaction from the other end. Like, why am I saying all these things and you're just looking at me like, okay, oh yes, that's good. And you would expect.
Honestly, I was bothered at some point. Yeah, I was really bothered at some point. But I must say, I think I had that, or I don't know what happened, that I was able to be comfortable with it.
Okay.
I would first find out inside of me, is there anything that I have done? Sometimes he would be quiet because he had his own issues. Other times he was just quiet because he was quiet. And I would be bothered quite a lot, particularly, in the very, very, very beginning. But with time also, like I'm saying, I learned that it's okay to keep quiet. And that is who he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I struggled, but I learned and I accepted.
Hi. Let me read another comment here. This is a comment from Mema, and she's saying, start creating your retirement as you join employment. You will find your purpose and what you are born to do. Model your retirement from year one of employment. I think that's really profound. It says, I love what Chelsea is saying or teaching. I'm particularly impressed by the teaching on self-awareness in marriage. All right, thank you. That's some guys' questions here, whether they are married and for how long. And I'm seeing my friend here, Basho, is saying he's been married for 10 years. Jeb Kosgei Meto says she's been married for 4 years. Interesting. I would like to know, what has it been like? The 4 years and the 10 years that you guys have been married. What has it been like? And what has kept it on? Or what has yumba the ship? Zingine pia meli ina yumba inatingizanga meli. Lakini kwa sababu ya wakati, I want us to have to combine two things. The role of community and the church in ensuring that there's a sustainable marriage. Considering that these days people prefer to go to church on TV. Like, I don't know, you wake up in the morning, you switch on your TV and you attend your service while in bed. What is the role of church and community ensuring a sustainable marriage or a family unit?
I think the role of the church is great. The majority of people get married in churches. It is from there the church needs to continuously organize for trainings and seminars to expose the newly wedded couple on the challenges they will confront in their marriage, because there are many, many, many challenges. So training, the churches should be able to do that, call people and keep on educating them on training and educating the differences. What is the difference? The difference is these are purposeful, but even on the pulpit, people need to be reminded through the word of God that it is him who authored these marriages, and people can learn to forgive each other, can learn to give themselves for one another, for whatever, that brought them together, how to bring up children, how to fear God. Again, also I find in churches, the more you love God, the easier it becomes for you also to love that man who you can see. Because if you can love God, who you have never seen, you have never touched, you only have a witness in your heart, and yet you love them dearly, you love him dearly, that will make it very possible for you to love your husband. So the churches must continuously talk about marriages, and marriages can work, and train people as well as educate them on the purpose for marriage and what marriage was intended to become, so that people can also continue to learn and live it, try to live it. The community also must not be bashing marriages. And I said, the fact that a marriage is not working, or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, does not mean that marriages do not work. Those people are having challenges. Maybe they are not able to discuss them because of their differences, and they do not have somebody who is helping them in terms of breaking the bridges, breaking them and bringing the people together. Sometimes people go to wrong advisors who will actually incite the couple. So the couple, instead of coming together, you are going to seek for advice from friends who would like to see you separated. So they will tell you, I can't live with this kind of a man. I can't live with this kind of a woman. So you think they are your friends, only for you to separate and later to learn that was what they wanted.
Okay.
So we need to be, first and foremost, let me say, let's seek people we know for sure they value marriages. Because if you go to somebody who says marriages don't work and I don't care about them, that is the information they will give you. And because you are having a problem or you are struggling, you will think it is true. And I also want to say marriages do have many problems. Like the rose flower, they have a good scent, but they have spikes. So it is for you to know how to handle the spikes in your marriage, and so that you can have the benefit of the scent of the rose flower.
Okay. I think they also, since we also have our Muslim followers, they're also saying the mosque has a role. So I think it's just a reflection, direct reflection of the church as well. And Basho Last Molu says Muslims are advised to attend 2 weeks workshops on marriages. People oriented on the different sides of union, it helps. Okay. Zakong says, and synagogues for us Jews, and shrines and temples for Raila, the Hindus. Okay. All right. It's been a pleasure having you, CK. It's been great winding up the conversation on our families and harmony. I hope we'll get to have more of this as time goes by. And I hope those guys who have gotten value from these conversations, I appreciate that you've been able to tune in and keep us engaged. And Ezekiel Kojasema from Eldoret. Asante sana, Ezekiel. That's good to see you guys. The guys who have been contributing to the conversation, we really appreciate you. So if you need counseling, marriage counseling, now this is from someone who has a working marriage. But also you seek counsel from, anyway, I don't want to sound, what I even put it, I don't want to sound stigmatizing. But I think if you want to know how to keep cows, do you go to a man who keeps donkeys? Good question. So, if you want to get marriage counseling, you get it from someone who has something that's working, that I can see. So if you need counseling from Madam Mrs. Charity KIHIKA, you can contact her on Facebook, or you can send me a message. I'll give her your number. Then she'll be able to have a conversation with you and help you to shape your conversations on marriage, relationship, or harmony and money. So kama unataka counseling, tafadhali niambie, alafu basi anaweza kuzungumzia kando. As I said, this program is probably sponsored and brought to you by Rexa Roofing. You get quality roofing shingles, unapata stone coated tiles, na pia UPVC water harvesting gutters, na pia pale mwisho unafanya waterproofing ya nyumba yako. All these are available to you at Rexa, www.rexaroofing.com, www.rexaroofing.com. Rexa Roofing, roofing your world. Your final words, Madam KIHIKA.
My final words is I'm available for mentorship. Teaching on self-awareness is a huge topic, emotional intelligence, so that we can have beautiful relationships. Because even for people who have no intention of getting married, it's good to understand that marriages do work, so that if they ever will want to get married, they will get into marriages with an informed mind. It's sad to enter into relationships without understanding what you're getting yourself into. So thank you for having me. And I'm open for premarital counseling.
Utatafutia namba pia kupea watu. You'll get us a public line. Ni tukuje tuwapeange. Kuja wanaongea na nyoke. Uliza napea namba haraka.
Asante.
There's something when you come back some other day, probably in a month or so, there's something we need to talk about. A trend that's really coming up quick and fast. The issues of, people are getting so comfortable these days with, I don't need marriage, I can have children, and, we can work out something. It become like an organization. You say, you give me a manage for a week, then you manage for the other week. Is it something that we want to continue? The issues of co-parenting, saying you can have children on the side, then we find a way to parent differently. It's a trend that's really coming up. And I think our society is getting so comfortable with it. And I'd like to know, is it something that you want to see happening?
I'll be very forthright and say that is a room for disaster.
Okay.
I read a story in the newspaper, and I'll be very brief, that this particular gentleman has married a lady who has a child, and she's always spending her time. She called this, the newspaper said she's always talking to her baby daddy. And I wondered, what now is this? Why would they have gotten married and bring up their child instead of the lady getting married to another person and her spending all the time talking to this man about the child? She is actually killing her marriage and hurting the husband who has been gracious to her, who has taken this child of hers into his house, and yet the other man is just sending food. If that...
So ukiamua oleka mzima mzima na mtoto.
Ukiamua oleka kabisa na virago zako zote.
Ng'ombe na ndama.
Bring this child to be adopted by this man. Because if he is willing to give the child a home, he can also... What is food anyway if the baby is staying in this house? I think these are Western ideologies that we are borrowing. We have not stopped being Africans, and it will take a long time. And I can honestly say we will never stop being who we are. So some of these fallen ideologies we are borrowing, pretending to be sophisticated,
will finish us.
Are very bad. They will finish us.
Okay.
They will finish us.
Yeah. We close for today. It has been the Common Sense edition on the tackle. It's been a pleasure having you. To see you again tomorrow. To see you again tomorrow. It's been a pleasure having you. This is a tackle, and it ends now. Bye-bye.